tonight. So we hear a lot about the district's financial troubles, but how are we doing with educating the students? Right? That's what we're all really here for, is educating the students. And so what's the feedback that you guys have been getting from parents? How do you feel like we're doing within the district? We all interact with different families from different schools at different grade levels. I'll start with this one. I feel like my son's a junior at Armstrong, and I feel like he's doing great. He definitely misses his peers, but in terms of academics, I think that they've done a really good job. Moving to the block system has been a real benefit over what we experienced last spring. And it's definitely been helpful in terms of kids getting more face time with their teachers. That said, I feel like I've reached out to teachers a number of times trying to get some feedback from, like my son's missing an assignment. He says it's in, like that kind of stuff. And I feel like they're under a lot of pressure. And so just that sort of back and forth communication piece of it between parents and the educators has been a little strained for me personally. But otherwise, I haven't heard a lot of complaints. I feel like everybody's doing the best they can, and it's been wildly more successful than it was in the spring. Renee, what are you hearing?
I'm hearing more of the concerns than about the quality of education in the classroom, which is not unusual. We are known in this district. Our teachers are incredibly dedicated. They work long and hard. And so, that has not been the concern from parents that I've heard. It's the lack of communication, the not knowing what's going on, the state of uncertainty that seems to be the topic du jour.
Eric, what are parents telling you?
I've talked with both parents, and more importantly, I've tried to regularly communicate with teachers. From a teaching standpoint, they're fairly confident in where they're at from the standpoint of technology, and you can see it in their Zoom calls. They look a lot more confident this year. They look very, very well prepared. They don't have that kind of shell shock, what's going on kind of approach that we saw in the spring. I think all workers were providing in spring. It's really starting to feel like over the Zoom calls, there is a sense of this is a classroom. These are our classroom norms. Kids are laughing. They're talking to each other between Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. That is a massive improvement over there. Now, that being said, what I've heard from parents is the concept of being able to access recorded classrooms. I know they're recording some of these meets, but there's really not an idea as to by grade level where to pick up the recorded call. So in case a kid misses it, they're not missing the class session. They can actually pick up the class session. The second thing that I've heard from teachers is just they still haven't received a lot of technology. So some of the teachers need second screens. Some of them need better headphones. One of the big things I heard from one of the teachers is that they had to go out and buy all of their kids headphones with microphones because she couldn't hear them. That is a sacrificial purchase that a teacher should not have to make.
Yeah, okay.
That should just happen. Those headphones should have just gone out with the equipment to be able to listen and hear. It's very important, and that shouldn't be coming out of the teacher's pocket. So quality, I feel, is up, as what I'm hearing. Teacher engagement's up. Equipment is still an issue out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing right now, for me, from my standpoint, is the engagement. And I look at my daughter, who is disabled. She's been very disengaged. But my son, this has been awesome. Distance learning seems to fit him to a T. Mm-hmm. But for my daughter, she really needs to be in a classroom. And there are a lot of kids right now that need to be in a classroom. We've got to figure out a way on how to safely get them there.
And I just, oh, I just want to add one more thing when it's appropriate.
Go ahead. Renee.
Okay. The only other two things that I really worry about is and I've heard from special ed parents that are extremely frustrated and very concerned. And, you know, the kids that do well, they do well. Bless those kids. We're grateful for those kids, you know. But the kids that need a couple extra boxes to stand on, as you always say, Eric, to improve equity, I have some concerns about that. I have concerns about our special ed kids. And then I also have concerns because I've talked to some language immersion parents, some Spanish immersion parents. And, you know, when you really, if you're not speaking that language every single day, you're falling backwards. So there are some kids that I really, really worry about in the district. So
Another thing that I wanted to add quickly is, you know, the idea of opting out of in classroom and going to distance learning. Some parents are quite worried that they're going to lose the teachers that they've already been working with if they take that option. That their kids will lose their teachers in the classrooms that they've been in. So that is causing a lot of hand-wringing among students and parents because, you know, as you said, they've developed this cohort now. They work together, they know what they're doing, and the idea that they would then be, you know, transferred to a different teacher if they took that option is I think very concerning from some of our parents. But let's
One quick other thing here. If you're a special education parent, what I will recommend is that you reach out to your special education teachers. There are occupational therapists and speech therapists, and some of the special ed teachers on an exception basis are bringing kids in one. So they'll bring one kid in, is behind plexiglass, and they're working with them. They know that there are special ed kids out there that are really, really struggling and need to come in. If you're having technology issues, reach out to your local school. You can bring the technology in. They have people there to help you. So there is systems out there. There are people out there to help you. If your kid desperately needs it, you can get them into a building. But as parents, we have to reach out and say, hey, this is what I need, to the teachers and to staff. And they will accommodate. They've been very, very gracious in accommodating my children this year.
That's awesome to hear. And I think, you know, as candidates, we would work to just put a bow on this one before we move on. I think as candidates, you know, if we're seated on the board together, reviewing and updating the equity policy and then working with the administration to make sure that not only that it's enforced, but we have key metrics that we are measuring the administration against and publishing those out to the community is something that we are all, as three of us, very aligned as a must-have as we move forward, because we can publish an equity policy, we can talk about it, we can say it's very important to us, but until we are measuring and improving on it and showing the community what we're doing with that equity policy, it's sort of lip service at this point. So we're, all three of us, I think I can speak for, saying we're very committed to making sure that the equity policy is updated and enforced across the district. But Stuart, I'm going to skip over you for just a second